Hello, happy Friday. Hey, so we're coming to you talking today about why cardio isn't an effective fat loss tool. As you're tuning in, say hello. If you're tuning in live, pop me a little wave, let me know you're here. If you're tuning in on the replay, as always, pop it in the chat that you're watching this on the replay. Some of you might not know this, but I'm posting these to YouTube now, so I'm posting those there. What's up, Tanya? I see you. I woke up with some pretty bad, sinus congestion. I don't usually typically have allergies, but man, I feel like I do. How's everybody doing on this Friday? If you're watching the replay, how are you doing? What's going on in your world? I'm sure it's not the weekend anymore. Something on my shirt. As you're tuning in, we are talking about why cardio is not your fat loss effective tool in midlife, and I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you, give you some good sound advice when it comes to fitness, as well as nutrition when it comes to midlife stuff, because we all know it's confusing. As you're popping in, let me know what your questions might be when it comes to exercise in midlife, because I've got lots of answers for you if you have questions. And if I don't have the answers, then of course I have resources for you. So that's a sign of a really good professional, is if they don't have the answer to your question, if they don't make shit up, that they actually go and give you a resource to go look up the answer for yourself and give you places to go if you don't have the answer to that. I lost my train of thought. Anyways, as you're popping in, say hello. So we'll just get right into it. So those of you that are on the replay, so you're just like, get to it, Julie. So we'll talk about really why cardio isn't the most effective tool. So don't get me wrong, even by the title of this talk today, it does seem kind of that I'm implying that cardio is not important. That is not the case at all. So let me get that out of the way. That cardio is still really important because it's going to train your cardiovascular system. It's going to train your heart. It's going to train your lungs. Hi, Brandy. And it's still super important. So don't get me wrong. Don't think that you have to stop doing all of your favorite cardiovascular exercises, because there's some really good ways and reasons why we do that. Likely partly to do with exercise stress relief. I know I've got two Les Mills instructors watching this right now, and I know they probably feel the same when it comes to teaching cardio classes, that they, myself included, love to teach those classes because it's a release for endorphins and all those things. So don't get me wrong, cardio is still a good idea. It's just how much cardio you're doing, and if you're doing it solely as your only tool to lose body fat. I will share with you a story when I was in my 20s and in my 30s almost, I would say, pretty much my 20s, is when I lost a bunch of weight. So I lost a bunch of weight in my 20s, and I did it through cardio. I did it through training for a marathon and changing my diet. So it wasn't just cardio. I changed my diet too, and I think that was primarily the reason why I lost a bunch of weight. But I did, when I exercise, I'm like, well, I might as well run, because running is going to burn the most calories, and I might as well train for a marathon. So in my 20s, I ran a whole lot of marathons, and I did it because I thought I had to burn as many calories during my exercise session that would promote a calorie deficit. Like, that was my mentality back in the day. It worked. It wasn't the most effective because I felt like I was on a hamster wheel of cardio, meaning I felt like I had to do that cardio every single day, or somewhat maybe six or 5 days a week, because I wouldn't create my calorie deficit without that calorie burn. And you can see why you would think it would make sense to just get on the treadmill, burn a bunch of calories, because you are always told you should be in a calorie deficit, and that makes sense. Go for a run, burn 1,000 calories if you run for 90 minutes, or burn 600 calories if you ran 6 miles, roughly 100 calories to run a mile. So it makes sense. Here comes my cat. Hello, Miss Kitty. Say hello. Hello, Violet. She's the only one that comes up on this desk. Leo does not come up on this desk very often. But she does. Anyways, so that's the thing. Like, we all think that, right? So the mindset shift when it comes to midlife is for a couple of reasons. That cardio, let's face it, you don't have a lot of time, and if you do, good for you. And you probably don't have a lot of time to be spending hours on the treadmill or hours running long runs or doing tons of cardio that will elicit a calorie deficit to lose fat, okay? So the point is, we want to shift our mindset to not just the calorie burn during your exercise, to building metabolically active tissue on your body that are going to burn calories more at rest. And so, of course, you all know what I'm going to say. You all know that if you've been around me for long enough, you know what the next step is. If you're not strength training, we need to be strength training, because that's what's going to create that lean muscle tissue that's going to keep you burning calories, more calories at rest. So say, for example, I have myself compared to somebody else that doesn't have as much muscle mass on their body, but we weigh the same. I can eat more calories because I need more calories to fuel the muscle mass on my body, as opposed to somebody that doesn't have that. So it is more worth your time to be devoting primarily and focusing your priority in the gym or at home to be strength training. Of course, the other reasons why we know this is because women lose muscle mass every year. They lose 3% of their muscle mass if they're not actively working to produce muscle mass. And in fact, some points when you are training strength training, you are actively just counteracting that muscle loss. So maybe you don't see a muscle gain, you're actually just counteracting that muscle loss, and you're staying at a net neutral. So it is so imperative that you are strength training and not just doing cardio to lose body fat, because if you don't use it, you lose it. What's the consequence of losing it in midlife? What's the consequence of losing it in later life? So not just in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or even late 30s. What's the consequence of not having it in your 60s, 70s, or 80s? Because if you start with low muscle mass and you continue to deteriorate, you're going to lose independence, you're going to lose longevity. We know that muscle is one of those tissues that it supports longer lifespan. So those that have more muscle on their body tend to have a longer lifespan. So this is seriously important. And I don't know how much I can say it as more as I can, because that is what I preach, is ladies need to be strength training. I had a point that I haven't gotten to. What was my other point? I said longevity. I said muscle mass. So if you're not losing it, you're not using it, you're losing it. Oh gosh, my kitty is sitting on my notes. Could you get off my notes, Miss Girl? Whew. Anyways, so that's really the biggest mindset shift, that if you are just primarily using the elliptical, the treadmill, walking to lose body fat, you're missing the biggest component for various reasons. So if you're not doing it, you need to be doing it. Hands up if you are doing it. If you're watching it live, are you strength training? If you're watching it on the replay, are you lifting some sort of weights? And I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's body pump. I don't care if it's strength development, now that Brandy's teaching strength development. I don't care what it is. Are you doing some kind of strength training at least 2, if not 3, 4, even 5 days a week? Where's those bubbles come from? What was that? Did you guys see those balloons? Did someone do that? Kind of like on TikTok. So TikTok has like these little gifts you can give the live creator, and they like send like little hats on their heads, or like little like whatever, if that's what it's like. Hi, Marianne. Good to see your name on the feed. We missed you in class. Marianne had a foot surgery, so hopefully you'll be back soon. We missed you. Okay, so we're talking about why cardio is not your most effective tool. So if you missed the beginning, it wasn't that cardio is not good for you. Gotcha. It's not that cardio is not good for you, because it is. We still need to be doing cardiovascular training because it helps our hearts and lungs. It keeps everybody else, your cardiovascular system, healthy. So we still need to do it. But your mindset shift is, if you're not strength training, we need to be, because you don't need to worry about burning excess amount of calories during your exercise. In your exercise, you need to be focusing on how much building of muscle are you doing to create a baseline of calorie burning tissue on your body. I will tell you the biggest thing I did for myself in my 30s was learn how to strength train. And I feel like now in my 40s, I have an advantage because now I've got a decent amount of muscle mass. And let me tell you, I can eat a lot. And I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this because there are a lot of folks out there that I talk to that say, Julie, I eat damn M&Ms one day and I gain 3 pounds. Or, I go out for a weekend and I don't even think about what I'm eating and I'm just eating what I want and I come home and I've gained 4 pounds. Like, it's that kind of stuff that we're talking about that keeps you a bit more versatile, a bit more, you can, what is the word I'm looking for? Clearly my brain fog is on high effect right now. But you are more versatile when it comes to eating more calories and still maintaining your body composition. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So cardio is still good. Don't get me wrong. I still want to see you in my spin class. I still want to see you in my body combat class, but use those things as your tools to let go of stress, to create endorphins. Don't ever prioritize your cardio in midlife over your strength training. Strength training comes first, no matter what. I'll share with you what I do. Hold on. I have a neighbor who will literally mow her grass every other day. And of course, she had to start mowing her grass right now. Dawn strength trains. She can keep her muscles and bones stronger. Yep, so she's less likely to break a bone in older age. That's exactly right. So I will share with you my routine. So I strength train 4 days a week. I strength train on Mondays and Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays. And I teach 3 cardiovascular based group fitness classes. Is there a goal percentage of minimal optimal muscle mass to aim for? No. Good question, Jennifer. So there's not really an optimal goal if you're not trained in strength training. So if you haven't ever done it, if you are new to it, you just go to start doing it. You go to start to get these small incremental muscle gains, but there's not a goal you want to shoot for. You just want to start. And that being said, when you start, if you're new to it, I recommend starting 2 days a week, and I recommend starting with a total body split. Meaning get to the gym, find muscles that are machines that will work your legs, your arms, your chest, your shoulders, your back, your core, your glutes, all of the major muscles, and just do 3 sets of 10. That's all you've got to do to start. Don't overcomplicate things, especially if you're going from never strength training at all to now strength training. Your body's going to start to see these massive gains in muscle because it's new. As opposed to me, where it takes me a little bit longer to really produce muscle gains because I'm accustomed to it. Okay? Brings up a couple of points that I want to bring apart. When it comes to strength training, we prioritize strength training over anything else. So I usually counsel my clients to say, okay, I don't care what you do with cardio. If you want to ride your bike, ride your bike. If you want to walk, walk. If you want to take group fitness classes, take those group fitness classes, but do not prioritize them over your strength. Get those in first, and then sprinkle in your cardio wherever it feels the best, or wherever it fits into your schedule. I do my strength training first thing in the morning because I know I'm going to get it done. And if I don't, then I'm fighting to get it in throughout my day. So I tend to get it in first thing in the morning. Okay? I've lowered that barrier for myself. I've bought a whole gym full of equipment in my basement. And so all I have to do is walk downstairs to strength train. So I understand it's a lot easier for me, and it might be a little bit harder for those that don't have access to that kind of equipment really easily, or maybe it's harder to get to the gym. So really not overcomplicating things. Something is better than nothing, right? So it's not just, oh, Julie, I can't afford to, or I can't get to the gym 5 days a week, so I'm just not going to do it. It is, okay, I can get to the gym once a week this week, so I'm going to go. Make the most of it. Hi, Faye. Faye's joining us from France. So we make the most of it. So something is always better than nothing. New people that are new to strength training will get the bigger gains as opposed to somebody that's not so new to it. Leisha freaking did it. That's right. Leisha's been working her butt off at the gym. Good for her. She was just complaining to me about Bulgarian split squats. If you don't know what those are, just go look them up because they are vicious. They are mean and they are not nice to your glutes. And that's why we do them. So bodies are adaptable. That's the point. So bodies are adaptable when it comes to training for fitness regardless. So I've been training in the gym for years. It takes me a little bit longer to see results. Keeps me a little bit more, I have to really push a little bit harder. Those of you that are relatively new to it aren't going to have to push that hard to see results and gains. As long as you are eating. So let's talk a little bit about eating. What's the best thing to do before you strength train in terms of eating? Is it best to go on an empty stomach? Is it best to go on a full stomach? Is it best to go on something in the middle? What do you think? And I'm gonna wait. Brandy said they hurt so good. They're also in our strength development class this round. Empty stomach, full stomach, something in between when you strength train. So Jennifer says in the middle with protein. Yeah. So I would say for sure something in the middle. Like you don't want to go on an empty stomach. You don't want to go first thing in the morning because first thing in the morning your muscles are completely depleted of any sort of glycogen storage that you have used overnight. So if you go in the morning, have some sort of fast acting carbs. A banana, some toast, piece of fruit. It's up to you if you can tolerate protein. I don't like to tolerate protein in my stomach right before I strength train because I don't want it to feel crampy. So it's up to personal preference. The protein you eat before a strength training session isn't necessarily going to be as crucial to the protein you eat after. Now that's a non-negotiable. So you might have to explore with what feels good for you in terms of fueling your strength training program or strength training exercise routine. I prefer a piece of toast. I had a piece of toast with butter this morning before I went downstairs. My husband just drinks coffee because he's a maniac. My husband also doesn't warm up and he's also kind of silly like that. I have to warm up. Okay, afterwards. So your post-workout meal, post-workout recovery, whatever it is, you do want to eat. So you do want to eat right afterwards. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you want to refuel with a full meal? Do you want to refuel with like a protein shake? Do you want to refuel with, what do you refuel with? You tell me. I love my new pink Stanley. Corinne wanted it so badly. My daughter, my oldest daughter. Leisha wants to puke afterwards, so she doesn't want to eat. Yeah. So what else? What do we do afterwards? I know you're probably typing it in, and I know there's a lag between what you type in and what I see. So typically I say that it's great to back up your training to a meal. That way you have a nice blend of all three macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fat. But as most important, if you just leave your applesauce afterwards, Brandy, really? Come on, haven't I taught you better? That's just carbs. Afterwards, you want to make sure you have a good source of protein because that's going to refuel your muscle. It's going to be the carbs are kind of the key that let the protein in. Yeah, okay, so let's touch on that. Oh, before, okay. So both of you, both Leisha and Jennifer, say that it's tough to eat afterwards because your stomach doesn't feel good. Sure. And I wouldn't advise you to eat right afterwards, but you do want to get it in with a certain window. So somewhere between an hour, no more than an hour to wait after you eat or after you work out to eat is ideal. So for sure, you want to focus on getting something with carbs and protein. The carbs is the key to get the protein building blocks into your muscle and to get refuel up your muscles. So make sure we do that. Protein shake is fine as long as you have some sort of carbohydrate with it. Especially if you're not going straight to a meal, like if it's not right by breakfast or right by dinner, for sure. So that's a good little crash course when it comes to strength training nutrition. When it comes to strength training basics, so this will be a good review for those of you that are training with me. I have a few of you on that are watching that are training clients of mine. This is a good review. So when we train, we want to make sure we're reaching to fatigue at the end of each set. If you're not familiar with what that means a set is a group of reps. Typically you do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I don't know how many sets you might do. Within it is those individual repetitions of each exercise. At the end of each set, you should be reaching fatigue, meaning it should be really, really hard to get that last rep in. I was doing a single arm overhead press yesterday, and I'm like doing this kind of massive, like just trying to like push up the weight with my other hand. It's that kind of struggle that you're looking for that's going to really challenge and change your muscle. If you're not there, you're not lifting heavy enough. And if you're not lifting heavy enough, you're not lifting enough to see muscle growth and muscle hypertrophy, which is size changes in your muscle. And that sounds a little scary for women. Sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to be big and bulky. You do want to in some places. You want to see shape. And so muscle hypertrophy is going to get you the shape in your arms that you're looking for, maybe the shape in your legs that you're looking for. But in turn, it really doesn't matter what your muscles look like. Your muscles are that lean, metabolically active tissue on your body that burn calories at rest, that change into changing your body composition, okay? The other reason why cardio isn't as effective, so let's circle back to the reason why that our bodies are adaptable. So take that marathon runner, for example. Somebody that's been running for years. Compared to their effort when they've been running for years, the very first time they went on a run, that run was super challenging to their body. Their body had to work really hard to fuel the muscles, to fuel their cardiovascular system. They had to do so much effort just to run a mile versus that marathon trained person that can run 26.2 miles, and each mile is very efficient. Your body is amazing at efficiency and adaptability. And so if you are a cardio junkie and you are so used to it that cardio workout is not as effective as it once was, and so what you typically would have done before and you're now adapted to it doesn't have the same impact on your body's metabolism, on your body's composition. Dave, you want to come say hi? Dave just got home from work. He goes, eventually? So that's another reason why it's not a great tool in your toolbox, but it's still a necessary tool for other reasons. So if you had to rate the hierarchy of things that you do in midlife to change your body, keep a healthy body, to create longevity, it's strength training is at the top. I don't want to say cardio is second because there's two different things that, in my opinion, are tied for second. The second one and the third one would be your cardiovascular training. So whether that is planned running, planned walking, body combat class, some sort of cardio class that is cardiovascular based, but then also, hi Marissa, also NEAT, so non-exercise adaptive thermogenesis. Meaning, how active are you all throughout the day? Are you sitting on your couch all day? Are you sitting at your desk all day? Are you stationary, not moving your body very much and just kind of staring at a computer screen? Are you walking around a lab like my husband does, or do you really?
I walk around.
Do you?
You can't boss people around from your desk.
So that NEAT, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, that's the stuff. So those two things are kind of tied for number two. Are you optimizing your steps? Are you optimizing your activity? I think I've shown with you guys this before. I have a walking desk. My desk is elevated because I sat once when I first started this business, and I sat for like half a day at my desk just doing, administration stuff and doing client counseling, and I'm like, I can't do this. My butt doesn't like this. I need to stand up. So, and understand that the controllables are there, so what you can control is what you should control. So if you are that person that works from home, be really aware of how long you sit. Stand up more often, walk around more often, get a step counter, start to track your steps and start to add increasing amounts of steps per day to start to increase your NEAT, because there are multiple different tools in your toolbox, but it doesn't have to be just the one thing. It's got to be a combination of everything. So if we're talking about fat loss in midlife, what's the biggest strategies? My biggest 5 strategies: eat in a calorie deficit, add strength training if you're not strength training already, optimize your NEAT, gets your protein, prioritize your protein, and then manage your sleep and your stress. Those are the 5 things that I counsel my clients on, and then I really work hard to help them optimize, because once all of those things tend to be in place, it tends not to be so hard. Are those 5 things hard for you? Calorie deficit, strength training, optimizing your NEAT, protein, stress, and sleep. Which one's the hardest for you? Put it in the comments. Which one's the hardest for me? I don't eat in a calorie deficit only because I don't want to lose weight. I'm just maintenance. I strength train. I optimize my NEAT. I get my protein. I think it's really stress and sleep. Stress? Randy says stress. What about the rest of you? NEAT and then calories, Leisha? Yeah? I've seen where you work, NEAT, Leisha. Get a walking desk. What about the rest of you? What's tough for you? Yeah. You can't think on one of those? I know, I think we talked about this. It is tough. It took me some getting used to like, be super mindful of where my feet are on this desk and still work. And then like, if I get like really engrossed in a thought, I can't like do this like I would to like look at my computer screen. And just before I started this, I had hopped off my tread that was walking, it was moving, to go upstairs to get something, and then it was still on and I didn't hear it, and I like walk up to my desk and I stand on it thinking it wasn't moving, and then it like shot me this way. Jennifer says, NEAT, stress, time for strength training. Okay, cool. Time for strength training is a tough one because there's no doubt we all have our own obligations, we have our own things that can deter us from our own goals. So it's not about necessarily, you're laughing at me. It's not necessarily about finding the time. It's how can we make the time, right? Because we can always find something else to do if it's not a priority. So good example. Today I have some big things on my to-do list for my business, like some videos to create. And I was like, I don't really feel like doing that today. Like that seems like a lot of work. But I have also on my list that's a little further down on my list, it's getting my CECs for my personal training cert. They're due next month. And I was like, I have a pretty easy course that I can just sit here and just do those. It's still productive. But I chose to make that the priority when really the priority probably should have been the stuff for my business, but it didn't. So there's also different ways that you can start to make those things a priority. So ask yourself, be really honest with yourself if it's really important. Even though we know all of these reasons why we should be doing something, if we're not motivated to make it a priority, you're never going to do it. Especially if there's these huge barriers to entry. I'll use Leisha's term because she's used that quite a bit when we talk. If you have these high barriers to entry to do it, and it's not a priority, and you feel not motivated to do it, then it's not going to get done. It will never get done, right? And so how do you start to lower those barriers to entry? How do you start to make it easier to do those things? How do you start to make it a priority? Because information and knowledge isn't necessarily enough to get you to act on a new behavior, especially if it's new, right? If it's established, you might have some of these habitual routines that are in place that will get you to strength train in the morning, like I do. But if it's new, it's harder. So for me, when I bought my gym equipment, I had a really hard time with transitioning from working with lots of people around me, which I liked. I liked seeing other folks working out. I liked having a community of people that I could talk to if I wanted to, or put my headphones in and just watch people while I work out. To working out in my basement, where, don't get me wrong, there's tons of benefits to it, but it was different. And I had a real hard time doing it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. Oh, God, it's so boring down there. There's no one down there. And so I hired a personal trainer, lowered that barrier, had someone else make me accountable to it. Because I knew I wanted to do it, I just needed some help. So I hired him, and then with his help, he's helped me even, like, curate more things in my gym. Like, I couldn't tell you how many pieces of equipment I purchased because he's like, wouldn't it be nice if you had a rower? Wouldn't it be nice if you had an assault bike? Wouldn't it be nice if you had, I'm like, all right, cool, I hear you. And so I bought them. So it's just talking about how do you lower your barriers to entry, and what are your barriers to entry? This is a good tangent down this conversation. If you have barriers to entry to strength training, what are they? Put them in the comments if you do. Some of you are working with me, and I know it's probably helpful to work with somebody to help you understand what strength training is, give you some workout plans. Leisha works with me, and she also lives in a different town, a different state even. And so she hires a personal trainer once a week so she can go through the workouts that I provided her. So she gives her the guidance of, here's where this equipment is in our gym. Let me watch you do it. And then for the rest of the program, the next 3 weeks, she does it on her own. So she's really good at lowering that barrier to entry. Talking too much. What else do you guys have? Any other comments? Any other questions? Did you all learn something about cardio, about how it's still important, but it's not your only tool to lose weight in midlife? And we know that strength training is key. So that's pretty much all I've got for today. My cat is now playing with the rug, y'all. Sometimes I feel like my house is Dr. Dolittle. You don't remember that movie where the animals are taking over? They haven't talked yet. Hi, Casey. Casey, you just missed the whole thing. I'll post it and you can watch it from the beginning. To summarize, cardio is not the best, but it's still important. Strength training is the best and is very important. We talked about how our bodies adapt. We talked about how it's all right, Casey. You can watch it later. You know, I wish Facebook had is change the playback speed so you could hear me speak in 2 times the speed. I do that with all my CECs. That's what I was doing before I got on this. I was listening to these videos at 2 times the speed so I didn't have to sit through an hour long of videos, maybe in half an hour. But I listened and watched them. So yeah, cardio for sure is definitely still important. Do them, do what you like, enjoy it. So I still should expect to see you guys in my cardio classes. What are you guys doing this weekend? Anything fun? I have a wellness fair at JB Wellness. So if you guys are local to St. Louis and you haven't been to JB Wellness, it's in Cottleville. It's such a great thing. Nice to hear carbs are being recommended when appropriate. So many people focus on heavy protein. Yeah, no, dude, carbs are not the enemy. Not at all. And I can go on a tangent here for a second. Carbs certainly are the only source for fuel for your body, for your brain. It's the only energy substance that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And so if you don't have carbs, your body creates molecules that do cross the blood-brain barrier and make you feel really lethargic and really, really slow. Those are ketones, ketone bodies, ketosis. You don't want to be in that. Screw keto. I don't like keto at all. So carbs are definitely appropriate at a certain level. Is it great to have lots of cake, candy, cookies, all that jazz? No. Oh, you have a funeral. I'm sorry. But it is certainly okay and expected that you should be eating carbs. Rice, grains, potatoes, corn, all of it can fit. There is no bad food. Absolutely no bad food. Okay? There's my tangent. And I'm looking over my camera because my mail lady is delivering a big old package to my front porch. It's a folding table. It's nothing fun. I needed a new folding table. Baseball games, friends, kids, birthday party, you're gonna teach. Yeah, good luck on your strength development class, Brandy. I'm sure you'll be fine. So that's what I'm doing. Thanks for your time, guys. If you have any other topics for something else that we can chat about, please do leave it in the Facebook group. Like I said, I'm trying to do my very best to be a bit more active in the Facebook group. I know I created the group, but sometimes I get distracted with all the other things that I run with my business. And my business is really starting to pick up. So if you have any goals that I can help you with in terms of fitness, nutrition, weight loss, overall health, any of those things. I'm a dietitian and a personal trainer, so those are the things that I tend to help most of my clients with. I have lots of ways that you can help, that I can work with you, but it really is picking up. So I've been a dietitian for over 12 years, but I just opened this private practice back in November of last year, so it's been relatively new, but it's been great. So, and if you don't have any of those goals, or if you don't have a need for me, if you do have somebody in your life that does, feel free to send it to me. Best way to get in contact with me is on Instagram or through Facebook or any of those social media outlets. So you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for tuning in live for those of you still here. And those of you watching on the replay, put it in the comments. Let me know what you learned and what we should talk about next. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye.